This room is amazing. So, please give it up again for John, who is a professor at USC.
Thank you, Ritu. I'm kind of a ringer in a sense, because that's the thing about being a professor is, right? Like, I mean, the only reason to get into the game, it's not for the money, let me tell you, right? Like, you don't get into that. And it's not for the fancy cars, the prestige. It's not for the, you don't get to travel business class. I'm in a business, but seriously, I never know anybody who gets to travel business class. Maybe the super luxurious people, right? The only reason, actually the reason I got into being a professor is because what I really wanted to be was an actor. But I also knew I couldn't cut it as an actor. You know, I figured, I have kind of like a face for radio, as they say, right? And the thing is that when you're teaching a class, right, like you basically do have to vamp, right? So if you like doing a type 5, and that was, by the way, I have to say, can we give it up for Ritu? Like, this was a very type 5. Was it 5? Is it about 5?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't time yourself? Okay. Anyway, but I want to get a little bit serious, because this is the thing, right? So when I'm teaching a course, I basically have to just talk to myself for 2 hours, and I actually make it a little bit harder. I don't like to use slides, I have notes, so you can go through the notes, and we can drone on about whatever. Actually, I have no idea. I don't know who here has taken an NLP class before. Okay, great. I'm gonna pick on you. When was the time? When did you take this NLP course? What year?
Undergrad?
Yeah, but what year was it?
2014.
2014. Okay. Yeah. So, did you talk about like part of speech tagging?
That's really wrong. Sorry, 2018.
Okay, that's totally different. Yeah. Did you talk about part of speech tagging?
I think we did.
Okay. Did you talk about the expectation maximization algorithm?
We did in our ML class. I don't know if we talked.
Oh, you did talk about the ML class. That's great. Great. If you were going to take a class in NLP today, would you talk about part of speech tagging?
I would.
Right. Would you talk about syntactic parsing?
I would.
Right. Would you talk about machine translation as a specific discipline distinct from anything else that you can do with an autoregressive language model?
Yes.
You would. Okay. Well, that's something good. Okay. But I think we're another ringer here, right? Like, have you taught machine translation before? Yeah. Okay. So you don't want to throw away your slides, right? No, you don't. No, I don't want to throw away my slides either. I have no freaking clue what to do. You really struck a chord with me when you said it was November 30th, right? 2022.
Yeah.
Yes. The last day of my last class was December 1st, 2022. I'm a research professor. I don't teach in the spring. I only teach once a year. I have no freaking clue what I'm going to do come August, right? What do I teach? Already, I had abandoned. There were so many wonderful things, so many wonderful notes. I had walkthroughs of how do you do. I mean, who here has ever learned about Witten-Bell smoothing? Yeah, right. Witten-Bell smoothing. Oh, Mr. Yeah, are you Witten? Okay, you still teaching, great. Yeah, I got nothing. I already like fast forwarded to Transformer. You know, I barely even want to. I mean, would you even want to teach a class or learn about LSTMs at this point?
No.
No, nothing, right? Nothing. So I mean, like, is NLP anything more than just like an applications class for machine learning? And is machine learning anything other than just like introduction of maybe Transformers, maybe S4 or something like that? Yeah, no, it's terrible, right? So I got nothing except to just like kind of vamp like this for a while. But I do want to get a little bit serious for a second. So I've studied humor a little bit. I want to say, you got to really, I hope you bring your game today when you're doing the spotlight. So I'm going to make a divergence for a minute. This is going to be like a loose 15. There was a time in, I guess 2016, maybe 2017 is when it stopped. There used to be few enough posters at a conference. Anybody who here remembers 1 Minute Madness?
That was great.
Okay, yeah, so it's just gonna basically be the two of us. See we know each other. You know, we have a history. When you could, they would gather. Everybody was giving a poster. You make one long line. It's probably gonna happen tonight, but 3 long lines, I guess. And you have. It got shortened to 30 seconds, basically. 30 seconds to pitch your poster, and then like the slide kind of would go on. That's why they're bringing it back. So, you know, there's a natural inclination. I don't know if it's going to happen because this is like the first time in a while, and people don't know. There's a natural inclination to want to you want to get as much attention for your poster as possible. So people would try to do the most ridiculous things they could do because otherwise it's just like, we do this, like, and you just zone out. You can't do it. So you got to bring it. I hope you're doing, okay. Can you get, don't spoil, but can you like give us a word or two of like why we really need to go to which session are you going to do?
So I'm doing the spotlights pitch.
Yeah, but there's 3 spotlight sessions at the same time. So is it
I'm
West
at
Center or East?
session C.
Is that West Center or East? Do you
I
know?
have to check on
Okay,
your
session C. Anyway,
Yes.
can you give us a tantalizing, just a noun phrase about why we need to see, without giving the game away?
I'll give you a hyphenated noun phrase. Okay. Code switching.
Okay, but that's like the topic. I mean, like, what's the sizzle?
Functions.
Okay, let me give you an idea. When we did it, we had, my sizzle would have been Hamilton. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like, come with costume if you can figure something out between now and then, right? Figure out a song to make, because you gotta cut through the week. Anyway, so we studied, okay, now I'm actually gonna get serious. We studied improv comedy a little bit. I will tell you, so much like Stephen, I have a background in machine translation. In my case, it was my advisor did machine translation he is still expert in machine translation. I did quite a bit of that, and then he up and left, and all of a sudden I kind of like inherited his position. So I ended up like going back to ISI where I was a student anyway. Long story, but not that long. But so I was like, oh my god, I can do whatever I want. What should I do? And I said, okay, I like improv comedy. Let's try to figure out how to do something like NLP-wise with improv comedy. And so we figured out. So the nice thing about improv comedy is that when you learn it, right, you break these things down into these steps. You've taken an improv class before? Who here has taken an improv class before? Great. Okay. Can you tell me about like what you learned in improv? Like maybe 1 or 2 things.
Just thinking on your feet,
Yeah.
and you have to just go along with the flow. You do not negate, you add on.
Right, the add-on, right. You probably learned the technique of yes-anding?
Yes.
What is yes-anding?
So, as ridiculous as it may be and it may not make sense, and you say, and you go do this, and then this happens. So you never say, no, that can't be. So you don't challenge it. You take it forward.
Exactly, you take it forward. Always yes and. But the thing about it is it's a nice discrete step, right? You can say like, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to build a model that's just going to yes and everything, right? So we did that. And like this is, it's post-transformer, but pre-ChatGPT kind of days. And if I could, okay, well, let's train a model on a bunch of yes and data. And we got the model to do some yes and. It's a nice first step, great. Fast forward now, ChatGPT, it'll totally like be your improv partner. Sometimes it's not as creative as like a bad improv partner, but anyway. But the thing is, it's nice, you can maybe break it down. There's I think when you get to more expert areas, they start to talk about like world expanding. It's like if this, then if this is true, then what else is true? Elevate. That's probably another kind of like discrete thing that we can do. But so I noticed when you're doing stand-up, when you're doing your stand-up set, it's not what I'm doing here, I don't think. I'm not really doing a stand-up set, I'm just talking, right? I'm getting a little chuckle, that's nice, thank you, I really appreciate it. It's the only thing I live for, honestly, is the chuckle, right? But you had this wonderful demeanor, right? Like that I recognize from like Jerry Seinfeld, for example, who notoriously like practiced. His stuff sounded natural, kind of, but like he did it because he knew where the beats were, right? He knew how to get the hit, right? This is true, right? You're in your set at the club, right? Like you practiced that set, right?
I have not come up with that set yet.
What?
You're masking the secret. I'm masking the secrets of the comedian here.
Okay, well, so I think you're just being a little bit modest, right? As we know, as everybody knows, in order to be successful, to not bomb on stage, what do you have to do, right? You need at least 3 weeks to develop your material, which I'm sure she has done, right? And you need to practice in front of a mirror, right? And you definitely need to eliminate all of your ums and eliminate all of your uhs and get the timing right so that when you hit that punchline, right? It's great. My son recently went to his first concert, Weird Al Yankovic concert, and Weird Al Yankovic. He had open for him this great comedian named Emo Phillips. You know Emo Phillips? And Emo Phillips can tell jokes. I'm not going to tell the jokes, partly because they're dirty and it's going on the internet. But it's all about intonation, the way you say a thing or not say a thing, and that's what leads to comedy. So I'm sure Rita has practiced that to within an inch of her life. And to get it perfect, and then you go back and practice it again to make it seem not rehearsed, right?
You got me.
Yes. So she is going to be perfect, totally not going to bomb at all, right? Yes, absolutely. So anyway, But there are these techniques, right? All kidding aside, there are these techniques about the way you say the sentences, what you're saying that is funny versus what's not funny, what's funny for the right moment, right? And these are things that we can study. These are potentially things, I don't think that the models that we have today are really going to do that, are going to understand the situational context in order to truly tell, to have a good session on their own. It'll be really mealy-mouthed, right? And so, I mean, that's an area that we can go in here. And I hope that this Birds of a Feather session is actually motivating in that sense, that we're actually going to build systems or figure out, kind of, try to maybe unpack in our brains what makes it tick, break down the stand-up into the rules of stand-up, and try to isolate those elements. And hopefully we can do a good job. So, anyway, I think I'm going to stop here because I've probably talked for way too long. Thank you very much.